Welcome back to another regame video. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell for our future uploads. In this video we're going to talk about Watch Dogs Legion step by step, so be sure to stay till the end of this video. Watch Dogs Legion is an admirable attempt to send a message about how all of us have the power to rise up and fight against authoritarian governments when we need to do so. Ubisoft decided the way to send that message was to create a game without a hero. Instead, the game set across a sprawling launder enables us to take any one of the 9 million characters in the game and recruit them as the player's avatar in the DedSec hacking group. It's a cool experiment as an idea and a big statement about how democracy should empower anyone to take down tyranny, but it falls short when it comes to storytelling and character development. That said, the recreation of London in a state of chaos is an amazing achievement, and I would recommend you play it simply because it's so surreal to romp through the streets of the city in all of its diverse environments. Legion also has some badass missions that show us glimpses of the future of urban combat with drones and the stealthy spying of tiny spider bots. When you play through the campaign for Watch Dogs Legion, the third in the popular series that pits hackers against authoritarian surveillance regimes in modern cities, your job is to save London from its death spiral and bring back the city to its civilized form. With all that's going on in the world, we just hope this virtual life of being a revolutionary isn't training us for real life. Legion released October 29 on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, and Stadia. It also hit the Xbox Series X and S on November 10 and PlayStation 5 on November 12. We are anonymous. The absence of the main character is a problem because the heroes or nobodies picked off the streets almost at random. It's like taking actor Anthony Hopkins and making him the memorable villain, and then pitting an unknown extra as the hero who is supposed to take Hopkins down. The villains turn out to be so much more interesting as characters than the extras, who might be construction workers or graffiti artists. When Watch Dogs released in 2014, it starred the character Aiden Pierce as a vigilante hacker who could break into the city's operating system and bring down all of its surveillance networks in the city of Chicago. In 2016, Watch Dogs 2 featured Marcus Holloway as the DedSec hero who turned the surveillance networks against the CEOs of tech giants in San Francisco. Rebuilding DedSec. You will proudly take on the daunting task of rebuilding DedSec, recruiting people of the street. But rather than collect as many resistance fighters as you could, you may stop at about 18 or 20 because you'll stop encountering really useful people. For example, if you choose to play without permadeath, which would mean that every time one of your characters gets caught or killed, they would be removed from the game. But you don't need anywhere near the full number of characters that are at your disposal. You can find some likable folks early on, such as construction workers Bak Fan, Vlad Voiku, and Beka Natapov. They have some funny lines, but they are about an inch thin as characters. There is virtually no backstory to them, except they have some reasons to hate the powerful. One of the things they all have access to is critical for the missions, a cargo drone. As a construction worker, you could walk onto many enemy locations and not get hassled because of the construction uniform. And you could call the cargo drone at any time and use it to fly above the security forces and inspect the buildings, hacking into security cameras and quickly identifying the mission target. You may come to rely on these construction workers so much that you don't really need anyone else. Some missions will leave you deep inside an enemy fortress where you have to defend yourself against a horde of guards and drones. For those missions, you can use Gabriel Issa, a well-armed combat expert, as well as Maria Lee, an Albion security guard who was disaffected with the military contractor. You'll feel like you scored big when you recruit a hitwoman named Maddie Wright, but she turns out to be no more useful than Issa. The mathematical possibilities for unique gameplay is mind-boggling, given the number of characters and the different ways that you could perform the missions. But you'll feel that you would never need more than 50 or 100 recruits to handle any situation that the game throws at you. One of the useful design elements is that highly capable individuals are highlighted on the map for you to track down and recruit. Bagley always has good recommendations for how to turn the recruits to your side. But one aspect of this grew stale. Every person had a grievance against the authorities, and if you go on a mission and solve the problem, the person will likely defect and join the DedSec cause. That got old, and it made all of the NPCs seem more like robots than individual characters. Some drawbacks. Other critics have noted buggy sessions, but I saw very little of that playing on the PC. But it is true that after the interesting beginning, the initial missions aren't that compelling. They teach you how to do some tasks, like hijack security cameras and distract enemies by ringing their smartphones, but it's a daunting and somewhat boring task to sift through a lot of possible recruits to find the really good ones. I wish Ubisoft had better filters for this. You'll occasionally run into some great potential recruits, but many are pretty weak as secret agents go, like hairstylists, unemployed people, fashion experts, and cab drivers. The missions have you infiltrating, hacking, and stealing things. You can distract a guard and sneak up behind them for an easy takedown. If you tire of those tasks easily, this game isn't for you. I would suggest, however, that you stick with it through the campaign, as it is rewarding, and the variety and story depth gets better. One of the most interesting missions involves tracking down a tech billionaire named Sky Larson, who promises the utopia of transferring the human consciousness to the cloud. She created an artificial world that was like running around inside a simulation. It's a very creative mission, and one that gives me the creeps about what unethical entrepreneurs will do with unbridled computing power. The Arkansas reconstruction of the events that happened between Larson and her mother are haunting. I also enjoyed infiltrating Albion in the Tower of London, where my Arkansas cloak and Albion guard identity came in very handy. Sneaking past the guards is pretty unnerving. Creative problem solving. Sometimes you can get around tough security by compromising one of the security guards and getting them to turn to DedSec. That turns the enemy's power against itself. You might have trouble keeping pace with a van that you are tailing, so that you could download files from it via a wireless connection. Sometimes no matter what you do, the vans speed off and a bunch of Albion police and drones converge on you. You can hijack a counter-terrorism drone armed with missiles. Bring it up close before you approach the van, then switch to the drone. You fire missiles and then download the files you need from the van's wreckage. It feels like cheating, but it works. The story takes some interesting twists, and the designers instill a sense of fear as we discover that the resistance has some holes in it, and the bad guys could come after us in unexpected ways. We had to figure out who to trust, and that seemed like folly in a world full of surveillance. It was important to remember that infiltration could work in more than one direction. Over time, you unlock a lot of technical capabilities, like hacking just about any kind of drone and turn it against its owners. You can wear an augmented reality cloak, which can hide you from pursuers for brief moments, sometimes enough for you to flee around a corner or evade a sharpshooter. While London is an amazing place, and you can recognize many landmarks from your trips there, if you've been there. One of the best design decisions is to use the London Underground system as fast travel. You can write it to mission locations and rarely have more than a few blocks to run. You could also hotwire a car with your smartphone and drive erratically while citizens fled before you in terror. Fast travel saves you so much time, but loading screens can be tiring. As the ending looms, the missions get harder and the plot thickens. That helps hold your attention as you try to get through some difficult puzzles or boss fights. But taking down some of the villains isn't as climactic as you hope it would be. Living London. The open-world experience of dystopian London offered endless variety. You could pursue the main missions, go on side missions, or just recruit a lot of characters. You could also spend time reducing Albion's presence in the boroughs of the city by inspiring the residents to rise up. You can do this by finding and recruiting key people in the boroughs to help with your cause. Once you do this, you can recruit people in that borough more easily. You can appreciate the sheer vastness of London and its diversity, like halal food stalls, garbage bags, water puddles that reflect your car's colors, and homeless people on the sidewalks. These places exist alongside historic landmarks like the Parliament Building and novelties of the future, like self-driving cars. On just about every block, you could see signs of resistance, such as protests or graffiti, and signs of oppression, where Albion mercs were harassing citizens at gunpoint. That creates the sensation of an entire city in a state of chaos and oppression. You will enjoy your time wandering around the city of London. The main campaign has a good story, and it's a straight shot that doesn't waste a lot of time. But you wouldn't mind straying off course now and then to explore London. We still wish the story were more directed with the main character. We realized we had some real freedom of being able to recruit anyone and grow attached to those recruits. You love your construction workers dearly, but they are nowhere near as fleshed out as some of the key characters of the game, like Nigel Cass, Sabine, and even the funny AI Bagley. Pierce will be back for the downloadable content, DLC, but I felt like his presence in the main game would have been wonderful. The villains clearly overshadow the heroes, but we didn't always get the satisfaction of taking down the bad guys in a dramatic way. Sometimes, those villains went down as easily as a throwaway NPC. That felt like a creative defeat. While it's entertaining, Watch Dogs Legion has its flaws that might not hold the attention of gamers during an extremely busy holiday season. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you have played the game, tell us in the comments what did you think about it.